Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. So glad you're here today. We're diving into something we literally all deal with every single day, the psychology and really the biology of our diets. We're pulling some amazing insights from the book 12 Steps to a Good Life. And honestly, this is going to completely change how you look at the food on your plate and especially the snacks hiding in your pantry. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so first off, why is it just so incredibly hard to stop eating junk food? Look, if you struggle with this, you are totally not alone. It's a universally frustrating experience. You know exactly what you're supposed to eat, right? But somehow you still end up reaching for that bag of chips or that extra cookie. Well, today we're unpacking exactly why that happens, and we're going to give you a really granular, super actionable framework to actually beat it.
So here's the game plan for today's Explainer. First, the evolutionary food trap. Second, we're going to look at why you need to beware of crap food. Third, we'll break down the 6 C's of junk food. Fourth, rethinking weight and health. And finally, 2 tools for mindful eating.
All right, part 1, the evolutionary food trap, or why our instincts betray us.
To really grasp our modern cravings, we have to look at this massive evolutionary mismatch between our bodies and our current environment. Think about it. For millions of years, humans lived in places where food was incredibly scarce. Survival was rough. Things like sugar, salt, and fat, those were super high-value nutrients, and they were really hard to find. So when our ancestors actually scored some, their brains basically screamed, "Eat as much as possible right now," because they had no idea when their next meal was coming. Plus, they rested whenever they could to save energy. But fast forward to today's modern society. Foraging for food, that's literally just opening the fridge. Running from danger is, well, maybe a brisk walk across the street. We're running this ancient survival wiring in a modern world of total, effortless abundance. There's a quote from the source material that hits the nail on the head here. Sitting on the couch, stuffing your face with cookies and chips, you are doing exactly what millions of years of evolution have programmed you to do. Honestly, kind of a relief to hear, right? Your cravings aren't just some huge personal failure or lack of willpower. It's actually a finely tuned survival instinct. It's just operating in completely the wrong era.
Moving on to part 2. Beware of crap food. Identifying the modern villain. Just because our cravings are natural doesn't mean they're good for us today. The source text gives us this brilliant, really memorable acronym for the modern villain we're facing, CRAP food, CRAP. It stands for calorie-rich and processed food. These are mostly industrial formulations, cheap to manufacture, super convenient for us, and obviously highly profitable for the companies making them.
And I mean, you see this stuff everywhere. We're talking sugary beverages, packaged snacks, frozen pizza, those little packets of instant powdered soups, even things like margarine. These ultra-processed foods are perfectly engineered to hijack those ancient survival instincts we just talked about. They basically trick your brain into thinking, wow, I just hit the nutritional jackpot, when in reality, you're just getting a bunch of empty calories.
Which brings us to part 3, the 6 C's of junk food, a granular mnemonic for what to limit. Okay, so how do we actually fight back? Vague advice like just eat less junk almost never works. We need something concrete. So here is the absolute core focus of our explainer today, the 6 C's. This is a super sticky mnemonic to help you spot the worst offenders and actually break those habits. Number 1 is cola, and that means all sweetened drinks and sodas. 2 is cookies. 3, candy. 4 is cake, and yeah, that definitely includes your morning donuts and muffins. 5 is cereal, specifically those sugary boxes lining the grocery store aisles. And finally, 6 is chips. By memorizing these 6 C's, you're giving your brain a really clear, recognizable target the next time you're staring at a menu or wandering the store.
And here's the catch. This vicious biological feedback loop. Eating sugar, salt, and fat literally makes your body crave more sugar, salt, and fat. It just feeds itself. The author points out that the only real way to turn down that craving is to actively limit your intake of those 6 C's. As you start cutting back on the cola, the cake, the chips, your body actually does adjust. Those overwhelming evolutionary alarms will slowly start to quiet down. All right, part 4. Rethinking weight and health. Shifting the narrative.
So now we know what to limit, but what about our mindset? Dr. Sarah Shaw has this incredibly powerful cognitive reframe in the text. She says we should disconnect the idea of being healthy from the idea or goal of losing weight.
So often we approach eating with this stressful, almost punishing goal of dieting for weight loss. But when you flip that script, when you shift the narrative to just eating for positive nourishment and genuinely taking care of your body, weight management actually gets a lot easier. It's really about building a sustainable lifestyle rather than obsessing over a number on the scale.
And that leads us right into part 5, 2 tools for mindful eating, practical habits for daily life. Let's turn that mindset shift into actual daily habits. The first tool is a simple 1 to 10 hunger scale. Picture it. A 1 means you are dizzy, weak, completely starving. A 10 means you're overfull, uncomfortable, and totally lethargic. The trick here is to just pause before you eat and even while you're eating and rate where you are. This forced pause makes you ask a really critical question. Am I eating right now because I'm physically at a 2 or a 3, or am I eating for psychological reasons, like I'm bored or stressed out? It brings a bit of mindfulness right into that exact moment you feel a craving. Tool number 2 revolves around a specific number, 80%. This comes from the Japanese concept of hara hachibunmi, which basically means eating until you are 80% full. So instead of eating until your plate is completely wiped clean or until you feel totally stuffed, you simply stop when you feel satisfied. And the results of doing this are pretty amazing. You learn that occasionally feeling a tiny bit of slight hunger isn't actually a bad thing at all. Instead of that heavy lethargy you get from being constantly stuffed, leaving that 20% gap makes you feel way more alert, highly motivated, and just more physically aware of your body. Your energy levels actually stabilize throughout the day. It's a real game changer. We've covered a ton of ground today, right? From ancient evolutionary traps to the modern crap food that's engineered to exploit them. But the big takeaway is that you absolutely have the power to reprogram those instincts. So I want to leave you with one final actionable question to think about. Which of the 6 C's, cola, cookies, candy, cake, cereal, or chips, are you going to try to cut back on today? Seriously, just pick one. Start small, use that hunger scale, and remember, you're eating to nourish a good life. Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer today, and I'll catch you next time.